Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, hello creepy friends, welcome to Slams and Bobs. My throat is actually okay today, but I am slightly seized up. It's like knives down here, so I'm sick with my throat again. If you've been here for a while, you'll know that this is a regular thing for me. My throat constantly gets infections and soreness, and it's fine, we'll work through it though. Finally, today we are here for our Thunderbirds Argo Series 1 episode review wrap show. Basically, I waited because I didn't have anything written down. I'd initially thought, right, let's get the end of the last episode out of the way, and I'll maybe do it the following week. And then I didn't go at my dad's for a few weeks because he was ill, and then my stepmom was ill, and then he was ill again, and they were busy one week. And essentially, the reason I'm waiting for that, and it's going to sound really weird, I don't have fibre optic broadband. I have normal broadband on a modem that's almost 10 years old. So when you try to upload, it's slow as hell. So let's get on with this. I do have a lot I want to say for myself, let me tell you that. I sat down and I started writing this at work on I think Monday or Tuesday. And I sat there and I started to realise to myself, wow, there's a lot to talk about here. There was this image posted on Facebook, and a certain someone will know the one I was referencing to. You know who you are. But I can't find that image now. So unfortunately, we can't go over that, which I'm really disappointed about. I did save it to my photos on here, but it's missing, so I can't talk about that. And I'm really, really sad because I was really looking forward to talking about that, but never mind, it's fine. I also put on this particular dress today because a couple of you commented before on how much you liked it. I decided to do this purely on a whim. When it first came out, I was looking forward to it, like the series as a whole. And I kind of sat there, and I remember I was talking to one of my friends, and I was like, you know what, I might do that. I might take that and I might work that. And I kind of dabbled on it, and then eventually I decided, yeah, let's go for it. And let me tell you, I think this is one of the best decisions I've ever made, certainly as a YouTuber, to go over this, because so many of you have been so good about it and so positive in your receptions to what I say and what I do. So first thing I want to say before we go anywhere is thank you so much to any of you who have come on here to waste your time watching me do this on a weekly basis, and who put up with me despite videos being late and whatever else. You guys are the reason this carried on. If nobody had liked it, or if I'd have got negatives constantly, I wouldn't have done it. So to anyone who's been here from the start, or who come in later, who just watched this on a whim, like I did it on a whim, you are the reason I'm here. So thank you so much for being here and wasting your time. I can't tell you. My expectations going into this series, for anyone who watched my series preview, was pretty bad. But in all fairness, they didn't really give us a good reason to sit there and have a high expectation of it. The clips we'd seen didn't leave much to the imagination. The photo of the 5 brothers, I think they were all called Dead-Eyed from what I remember. So they didn't really give us a lot to go on initially. That all changed when we saw episode 1 and 2. As kind of that younger fan that always loved the original, I went into it with an open mind. But as I've mentioned before, my dad, who was literally generation 1, he was there when the original first came out. He couldn't accept it, and I know there's a load of you out there like that. Some of you, like myself, have gone, all right, you've taken this and you've done this with it. We respect it. You've been faithful, you've done this. There's some that can't. I was one of the open-minded ones, and I did eat my words after the preview quite a lot, because it was everything I wanted it to be, but different, but altered, but all good at the same time. They were loyal to the original crafts, they were loyal to the entrances into the crafts, they were loyal to the entrances and exits out of the Thunderbird base. I think Scott used to be raised, but he was lowered in this one, I believe. Virgil's was, I think, virtually identical. Alan's, I think, was a little bit different from what I remember. Gordon's, obviously, out of Thunderbird 2 is identical, you can't change that. And John had this little threadle pod thing that come right out from space, and I don't remember that being in the original. Obviously each Thunderbird shadow was all new, and we only got to see that recently, and I think we all sat there and went, yeah, we like that. So we all like that as a whole. One of my next points was the series underhyped as a whole, and I think maybe it was. The initial impression they gave us was what made it underhyped, I feel. They didn't push it. But then I think as well, I've heard that initially they didn't have a big budget for it, because obviously no one knew where this was going to go when this came out. It could have been hated, it could have been panned, it was none of those things, bar 1 or 2 odd episodes. So maybe they didn't give it the credibility it deserved going into it. That's what I think anyway. But as I say, when they initially released some of that footage and the photos, we were all sitting there going, dude, what the hell? I think most of us got excited for Scott Tracy and Parker. I think that was our #1 top excitements going into the series as a whole. So moving on to actually being introduced to the characters. We've discussed our initial response to that picture. We won't go any further on that. It was dead-eyed, it was cold, and everyone sat there and went, why is Alan so blooming small? We will get to Alan, don't worry. I haven't even started with Alan Tracy yet. They obviously do differ from their puppet counterparts in some respects. For respectfulness, they obviously have been modernised. Let's say that now. They've been brought bang up to date as men and as characters. Obviously, back in the day, that was your average 1960s guy. But obviously, Gerry Anderson was trying to think ahead. But obviously, there's only so much thinking ahead you can do in the 60s, I think. They made them more likeable, but obviously, your dynamic is completely different. Alan is the baby brother, and Alan has issues for me because I don't like the fact that they've essentially made him a human movie Alan, and I still don't like that. And I hope going into series 2 they are going to make Alan a full brother, because for me sometimes it's like watching 4.5 Men. It aggravates me with Alan a little bit. So him as a character, I feel like he's demeaned. Scott Tracy is obviously taking on the patriarch role. He is now essentially the dad of everybody, now that he's the eldest. Jeff is missing, and he essentially feels that burden of keeping all his brothers safe, as I think the eldest would do. And they hit him spot on, I think. They showed that he obviously has a lot of issues with the fact that he's very protective. He's terrified that, you know, his brothers could be hurt or go missing, and he has that fatherly nature about his 4 brothers that absolutely Jeff used to have. And I loved watching them explore that, because that, I feel, was more for us. It was more for the adults that came into it going, we're going to watch this. And we kind of get that relationship probably more than the kids will, I think. Virgil was absolutely as Virgil should be. Virgil is the creative, the free spirit. He's known as the strong guy. He's the tallest and strongest, apparently, which I liked. I think, obviously, you weren't going to get that buff kind of figure in a puppet, but they've definitely introduced it in this one. He's also most definitely the more daredevil of them. And I like the fact that they've definitely given each one an identity each. Gordon, I don't think we've explored Gordon enough for my liking. I think we know itty bits about Gordon, but I think we need kind of a Gordon personality-centered episode in series 2. The obvious big hint going into this was, oh my god, him and Lady Penelope are flirting. That didn't happen in the original, but I did welcome it in a way, because really the only love bonds we saw in the original was Tintin and Alan, and I always thought that Jeff and Penny were kind of a little, you know, love going on there. I wasn't quite sure. I never really did know. John Tracy is the revelation of the series, I think. Someone actually said, and I don't know whether they put it on Facebook or whether they put it on my comments, they took John Tracy and made him likeable. I didn't mind John in the original. It was Gerry Anderson who hated John, but they have made John a complete revelation of a character. All right, they've changed him to ginger from blonde. I ain't got a problem with that. But they've just introduced a whole new personality about John. He is the loner. He is the independent one who likes being on his own, and I as a person identify with that, and I think that's absolutely why I have welcomed John so much in this series, and why I definitely have, I think, a stronger bond with John as opposed to any of the other. I think it definitely goes John, Virgil, Scott, Gordon, Alan, in that order for me of love for the characters. I just identify with him. I get why they did what they did. He was always the one upstairs. He was always the one that was on his own. And I get that. I really get that. And I think there's a lot of kids who probably are the loners who are going, you know what? He's made it on his own. And that's great for that generation too. Because I think there's so much kind of, certainly in Disney shows, I feel, where they're kind of in groups of friends. And there's a lot of kids that just don't have that. I didn't really have a group of friends, certainly in my teen years. You did, but you didn't. Certainly going into my adulthood, I have one best friend, and she is awesome. And that is fine for me. I don't have a big network of friends, but there's going to be kids nowadays who don't have that, who are going to identify with that, and that's going to be great for them. Penelope was quite a departure in a way. She's still definitely the very svelte, let's go Parker type character. I do want to see her in Pink in series 2. Parker is perfect. We cannot shirk on Parker. Parker looks the part, he is the part, he's the original blooming voice. There's nothing I can say about Parker that's a negative. They made him comical, they brought him up to date. I kind of missed the suit and the chauffeur hat to a point, but he was perfect. Parker was the character perfection for me, and I think for a lot of you guys as well. Brains, we had an issue with Brains at the start because none of us could adapt to his voice. I think I've learned to kind of accept it, but there's still a hint of me that's like, And I also worry that they're editing his stammer out. I don't like that very much at all. I feel like editing the stammer out is editing out huge parts of Brains' character. And on top of that, it's, for me, it's sitting there and saying, well, we're going to edit out an imperfection because in today's TV, imperfections aren't correct. And I don't think that's a good thing. I think they need to actually put more emphasis on the stammer. The Hood was cool. The Hood was as fiendish and as villainish as ever, without his accent and without his powers, but he does still have his yellow eyes. He bored like a baby at different things, exactly like his puppet counterpart did. He didn't have his original robe, but he was brought up to date in a suit. So that was fine for me, and we didn't have the statue of Carano that he would turn his eyes on and evil, but then we don't have Carano in this series either. Grandma Tracy just, you guys know I hate Grandma Tracy. I do not like Grandma Tracy whatsoever. It's that onesie. I think it's that friggin' onesie. No, I don't adapt to Grandma Tracy because they've made her the complete opposite of who she was. In the original, she could cook, she was grandma-ish, and now she's kind of, you know, she reminds me of my nan, you know, mess with me and you're in the doghouse. That's my nan. And Tintin / KO last. Now, I'm going to say with this, I have Tintin and I have KO, and I have to see them as two completely different women because for me, that is what they are. KO ain't nothing like Tintin, and I have to identify them as being that. Second thing, and I think it's definitely the thing for me that really stands out in the whole series, does the timing affect the whole way that they present the show? And this is a really big thing that I think we've all got to sit down and think about. They chose to put this on at 8:30 in the morning. In the original first broadcast of Thunderbirds I'll Go, it was on at 5:30 in the afternoon. A time where parents and kids could sit down and watch it together and enjoy it as a family. You know, dad's sitting there reminiscing, mum's sitting there reminiscing. That was how it was when I was a baby. And the little one's just sitting there going, oh, wow, this is brilliant. And dad's sitting there going, oh, my God, this is bringing back so many memories. But they chose to move it to 8:30 in the morning. Now, regulations for children's TV means that they can't do certain things that the original could. For example, they can't give the guys guns. They can't show any type of huge violence, if you know what I mean. So, like, for example, the Hood pointing his gun and then tying a couple of guys up, I think, in Fire Flash, or I'm trying to remember what episode that was. They couldn't do that. It's physically incapable now of doing any type of, you know, or Move and You're Dead, where they take Alan and Grandma Tracy hostage in the car. You guys know I love that episode. Now, if it was on at 5:30, would that not mean that although we're still within the watershed, we could change it up just a little bit? That, I think, for me, has been one of the greatest detriments to the whole show, was choosing to put it on at 8:30 in the morning. Because if they had changed the time up and kept it as 5:30, I think it would have been completely different. But I think that was something that perhaps ITV or maybe the creators didn't consider, was that timing schedule. I don't think, and I still don't think it's right. I think that it definitely plays on what they could and couldn't do. And, you know, the thing is, I've said before, it's much like watching wrestling. It's only that small minority of kids that kind of ruin it for everyone else. I mean, come on. Who here, who is a WWE fan, did not try wrestling on their siblings as kids? All right, we did. Me and my brother did. We broke his bed powerbombing me when I was little. He used to Walls of Jericho me. He ankle locked me. But we didn't get ridiculous, okay? I think everybody has tried it, but yet when this certain minority take it too far and someone ends up hurt, that's when WWE come under heat for it. In the same respect, if the Thunderbirds had run with guns whilst putting us on at 8:30 in the morning and a kid got a gun and said, oh, I was trying to be like the Thunderbirds, the show would have come under fire. It's that minority that does it. And it's the reason that we've got so many strict regulations on kids' TV shows now. And this is the reason that a lot of this stuff had to be watered down. Putting on at 5:30 would have meant it would have been a family show, and therefore it would have been more PG as opposed to you. What I called this was the watered down effect. I called it, it's literally on my notes as the WD effect. It is the watered down effect, and it's something that they have been forced as a show to do. And it really kind of, from that aspect, is not their fault. So the most important thing I think we have to sit here and look at, if we're doing kind of a rat pie, is what was distinctly different between our loved original and our new series. So the suits were slightly different, but they were not silver, they were blue, which was great for us. They matched the bands across the guys now with the colour of the craft. So I think Alan is red, Scott is like a steel blue, I think. Gordon is yellow, which I think he always was. No, Virgil was yellow originally. Virgil is now green, and John... What is John? Is he like an orange or something like that? I can't quite remember. It's kind of a silly little difference. The inner of the house where everyone lives, that's a little bit different. But again, we're modernising things to kind of our new futuristic expectation. So, you know, Gerry Anderson's futuristic expectation was one thing. The modern day futuristic expectation is a whole other thing, but they've also still kind of made it almost modern with the outfits that everyone's wearing that they never seem to change. The base as a whole, for me, looked exactly the same. There's obviously a few little different graphic things that are different, but most of our characters look very similar to how they were as puppets, but obviously they're kind of made into a CGI alternative, which I think that for the latter part, once they're walking and talking, the actual image of the characters is absolutely fine for me. I would like to know what you guys think about their images though. One of my kind of faults with their images, because again they only had so much budget, was that the hair kind of looked plastic to the head, so like it did not move no matter what happened. Penelope's hair, for example, was constantly sat here and didn't move no matter what. Now my hair, which is probably a bit longer than Lady Penelope's, it constantly moves, okay? Whenever I move, it moves with me, especially if I'm headbanging in a standing crowd, which is awesome, by the way. I have not been to a gig for a long time, and I really need a gig. I feel like I really need to get in a blooming pit. I think they need to make the hair a bit more realistic, because that was, alright, we're not going to have Prince Charming in Shrek, where it's 3 months on that effect of doing this. We don't want that. I just want the hair to move. It's kind of a little nitpicky thing from me there. On the whole, the transition of the characters and the story as a whole has been great. The difference nowadays with kind of big series stories is that the series is introduced, you have the middle part, and then you have a longevity running thing that leads into the finale. So for example, with Hawaii Five-0, the big theme was Wofat, finding Wofat, and the minute it's Gabriel. Gabriel is a little dick, seriously. I love him as an evil force though. In The Walking Dead, at the minute, we have Negan and the wolves. We also had the cannibals, and then we had the governor. He was quite a little sod as well, was he not? In this, we have the Hood. The Hood is the long-running theme of evil, but the difference in the original was that episodes really didn't have to kind of link together the way that they do nowadays. When you're linking something now, the whole series kind of has to make sense come the end of it. So constantly with Wofat will constantly, in Hawaii Five-0, Wofat will constantly do things. You would have this big episode and then, oh, there's Wofat and oh, this is going on. And then he would always be in the finale, most commonly. Buffy, similarly, always had this big evil. We'd have a few random episodes, but it would all essentially link together come the end. The original didn't have to worry about that. The Hood was our big evil. He was our ongoing thing. But no episode, like I can pick up a Thunderbirds episode and watch it from anywhere. You could never do that with 24, for example. 24, it would be impossible to do that with. Stories as a whole, I found them really enjoyable. There's obviously the odd one or two, quite some of them where we kind of sat there and went, oh, wasn't really good, but then we had some really good ones. Fire Flash really caught everyone's attention. There was so many good episodes that we all loved that were for the kids, but that were based on some original episodes that we loved. I really enjoyed the stories. Sometimes the shortness kind of maybe, as I touched on, could detriment it. A good thing was we had no ad break in the middle of an episode, which definitely, I think, played into the continuation of it. It definitely held the attention of the viewer, and that is definitely a good idea. Obviously, saying that, then we have to mention that Lady Penelope episode where Alan was learning to drive. Quite possibly, I think, the most hated episode of the entire series. I think so. Unfortunately, David Baddiel wrote that one, and as much as I kind of sat back and went, it's got a lot of fun vintage features about it, when it was actually played out, I sat there and went, man, that's not good. It annoyed me that Alan had to learn to drive, because again, that's making it 4.5 men. Why can Alan not drive? You're trusting him to drive a rocket, but he can't drive a car. That makes no sense. Also, Alan would not drive a rocket in his teens like that. Again, that makes no sense. You haven't thought that through. Yeah, that was just not a good episode. Alright, I like the teapot. Great Aunt Sylvia did a flipping flip. She flipped at her age. What the hell, man? Alright, she had a vintage outfit on that matched something in the original series, but she did a flip. So the high points, I've got some high points and low points to go over now. So let's start with the biggest high point that we touched on. John Tracy, Marvel character, absolutely amazing. And what more can I say? They made Thunderbird 5 a rescue craft. We have never seen that happen. That was awesome. It was so well thought out, and I mean, we all sat there and were like, that's never happened before. That was, I think, it was one of the episodes that absolutely was an absolute top point of this series. That, I think, was the moment of the series, because it was something Gerry Anderson had never done for obvious reasons, but it was something we never thought possible. It was absolutely amazing. I think also, thinking about John and Thunderbird 5, EOS worked very well as well, but we'll touch on that later, because that actually comes into one of my lows. Not EOS, but there's a comparison between that and something else, so we'll get back to EOS. The series has loyalty to the original, whilst making it modern and making it likeable not only to the original generation but also to a new generation of fans that consequently will be watching the original now. That is fantastic. It absolutely still infuses Gerry Anderson's original scheme and theme and creativity, whilst just taking it and making it something else. Obviously, because of rules, there's certain things that have had to change. Obviously, we're not going to see people casually smoking anymore. I wouldn't want to see that anymore. Back in the 60s, it probably wasn't known as being as toxic as it was, and it was the done thing. But nowadays, obviously, it's so different. But as a whole, I feel that it's got the absolute quality of the original just brought up to date, and I would like to think Gerry Anderson would like this. I really do. I think obviously there's a few tweaks he probably would have made. I mean, thinking about the Captain Scarlet remake, he hit that bang on the head because he did it. He definitely would have liked it a damn sight more than the movie. They didn't bring in mobile control. Thank God. Thank God they didn't bring in mobile control. When we hit the mid-series break, and you guys started saying to me, oh, please do some original episode reviews, and I said I would, which I have, and we're going to get on to what's going to happen in the kind of break between this and that. I kind of sat back and watched Mobile Control, went, what is that for? So I'm really glad that they didn't bring in Scott's Mobile Control, because I really can't stand it in the original. It's one of my hates, my pet hates in the original, because it's so pointless. It has no purpose. It really doesn't, apart from the microphone Scott uses. And nowadays we have that. We have like the control from the wrist. I love that aspect of it. I think that's all kind of things that maybe if Anderson was still with us, he would have sat there and gone, I really like that. I would like to think that he'd like that. I loved it. I think that it's something he may have introduced if he was still here, if he was doing a new series. There was actually a puppet series that was made, but it got shelved by ITV, and I still to this day want to see it. I've seen a trailer for it. I did not know until the Egyptian episode that sets and CGI were used. I didn't watch the original thing with Reggie Yates that was made where it showed this. I did try and watch it on ITV at the time, but it wasn't there. And it's a testament to the CGI and the sets itself. When you see a set scene, you just sit there and go, oh my God, it's the original. And you love it. You love it. I mean, the Egyptian ones were what really caught my eye, but there's been other things as well. So like when Lady Penelope and Parker and the Doctor were on the train and you had CGI Penelope running across a set train with all this water coming in, I thought that was amazing. I loved seeing that not only could you do a CGI scene and a set scene, you could also blend CGI and set together. That was absolutely phenomenal for me, and that is a testament to the CGI, but also pointing out that hair-wise, you still need to sort the CGI out just a little bit. I kind of always mentally play around with this idea that a human series could be made of this. It's something I always play with in the back of my mind, and anytime I watch an old episode back, I'm constantly sat there thinking to myself, it's missing that chat and banter between the characters. We've got that in this series. It's absolutely what we wanted. When they're going into a rescue, they're hitting little sarcastic remarks at each other, they're playing little jokes, having little laughs. Even back at the base, they're having little laughs. And it's something that I really needed to see. I still, in the back of my mind, can see myself in the future being part of some kind of human series where it's remade with the original episodes. That's just in my mind though, and that's just all for me. Same as my little kind of mental script that I've got for an episode of Thunderbirds is in the back of my own head. We mentioned it, but craft entrances, craft as a whole, they were so loyal to the original crafts. They could have taken them, they could have changed them, they could have made Thunderbird 2 skinnier, they could have done this and that with Thunderbird 2. As I said, going into the crafts was kind of made more realistic, because the one thing that I always got scared of, and it's something I get scared of in this series, was when Virgil was laying down going in Thunderbird 2, he had nothing to keep him in that, and now he's got like a couple of little, he holds on to like a couple of straps. That's a lot more safe. Scott does something similar, but I'm still scared. He jumps on that podium and it's like he's several thousand feet off the ground. I'm thinking, just don't fall. That would be a horribly rubbish death. Don't fall. It's so far down and he's just not safe. They really need to give him like a little harness or something round that little podium he stands on. It's so funny, but it's so not. Thinking of Thunderbird 2 though, think of all the things we've seen come out of Thunderbird 2, the mole, those little carts from the Fire Flash episode, as well as a whole load. Look at all that new grapple gear that Virgil comes out in. That's amazing. I love that. There's just so much now that they've introduced and so much that they've kept loyal to. I think when I saw the mole, as you said that, I went, mole, mole, mole. It was so exciting. They have taken old episodes, original loved episodes, and made the modern. There's a couple that had hints of other episodes in them. I think there was a couple where I actually got a feel for different episodes in them, and I can't remember what ones they were from memory. Best thing that they did as well, one of the best things for me, was referencing other Anderson works. In episode 1, John stands there and goes, oh, I'm not going to miss my favourite show. And what was it? It was Stingray, I believe, right? Amazing. Phenomenal. Loved it. Great little hit and great little nod to Anderson as your creator and your parent. So moving on to the lows. Alan Tracy. Please make him a full brother in series 2. That's all I've got to say on it, because I think we've covered just about everything else. I sometimes feel like they're focusing too much on 1 or 2 characters per episode. So certainly when Alan gets into his rocket, they're focusing on that, but it seems like Scott's doing all the work and Alan's just the driver, which does annoy me a little bit. Space missions are Alan's job, but he's not doing them, and I don't like that. But sometimes, like, they will have, like, say, Scott is normally in every episode. Virgil sometimes can be in multiple episodes as well, but it seems like Alan and certainly Gordon seem to be sidelined quite a lot. That's kind of a bit of a meh for me, but I guess there's only so many space and aquatic rescue missions you can do. You can do more kind of general rescues using Thunderbird 1 and 2, so I get why that is. Is it too kiddified in places? Maybe, maybe not. Sometimes things are a bit more child-centred, but obviously the timing for that is what plays into that. Had it have been on at 5:30, I think perhaps that would have been dulled down a little bit, and I really think they need to consider moving it. That's just my call though. That blooming dog of Lady Penelope's, that pug, alright, it's cute, but I don't want it. I don't like the dog. I think we said before, Sherbet is its name. I don't like it. Brains! I think we adapted to Brains, as I said, but the one thing that annoys me about Brains is Max. I don't like Max. I don't think many of us like Max, but it's odd that they got Max so wrong. Max kind of frustrates me. Yet Eos put it with John, and that was like, oh, That was amazing. I love that. We love Eos. Eos is like John's little friend, but he still gets his own independence and his own lonerism. Did I just make up lonerism? I think I did. Max was just a meh. Grandma Tracy. Enough said. GDF knowing the Thunderbirds base location in the last episode. I didn't like that. I don't think any of us really took to that well. The point was secrecy, and now they know where they are. They can just pop by for a drink any flipping time they want. And what if they give their location away? What if they all have a Barney and then GDF go, oh, by the way, this is where they're hiding? Think it through, guys. The Hood getting arrested in the last episode. Meh. Again, the Hood getting arrested ain't something that would happen. The Hood don't get arrested. He just gets away with it. That's the point of the Hood. I think my last point to close on is what would Anderson think? And I've said this before, and I hope you guys agree. I think he'd like it. And I'm not going to say anything more on that. And that is my very last note from this series wrap as a whole. I think they have definitely done a lot of good in this series, and they've definitely done a lot of great things for the original fans, and also a great thing to bring in new fans as well. There's so many good things about this and good things that come from it. Going into series 2, I don't know what's going to come. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know if they're going to kind of build Tintin and Alan more. I don't know if they're going to build Gordon and Penelope a little bit more. I don't know if the Hood's going to come back as the force of all evil. I don't know that. There's kind of this little funny thing in the back of my mind going, oh, they're going to bring in evil Carano. I don't know. Or they could bring in Jeff Tracy right on that last episode of Series 2. How many of us would like to see that? I don't know when Series 2 is beginning. They've said that it's going to be broadcast between 2016 and 17, so that could mean anything. It really could. That could mean that it starts in a few weeks' time. That could, and then they take another mid-series break, because technically Series 1 was broadcast in 2015 to 16, so we don't actually know how this is going to pan out. They've had little different clips of little photos of being the Grand Canyon. I thought it was the Grand Canyon. I don't think it is the Grand Canyon. New York Times Square was another one. They're just going, where are we now? I don't know if it's just playing up while they're absent. I would love to know what you guys want to see for Series 2, because at the minute I'm kind of drawing a blank on Series 2. So put your comments down there. And let's have a breathe together. Yes. Now, in the time that we've got left until Series 2 starts, I am indeed going to keep to my promise and start doing you some original episode reviews. Again, we are starting with Attack of the Alligators, and that is because that was the most requested one when I was doing the others. I also have, obviously, 2 movies. We have Thunderbirds 6 and Thunderbirds I'll Go, which are the 2 movies to think about, but I think we'll wait for those until kind of I've run out of original episodes. Again, I'm going to say I'm not doing a new original episode review a week, because there are only so many episodes to go by, and obviously if we have another mid-series break, I don't want to run out. Someone did request, and you know who you are, that I review the 2004 Human movie. And I'll be honest, initially I said no, but there's a side of me now that's considering it. There really, really is. I would need you guys to know, if we do go ahead with that, it's not going to be a nice review. There are very few nice things I can say about that movie. And there's a lot of ranting and raving that's going to go on if I do run with that, and it's going to be fun for you to watch, but there's going to be a lot of thumbs down, because it's not going to be a nice review if I go with it, and I am thinking about it. I'm not saying no, I'm not saying yes, I am just but thinking about it. And then we have obviously our radio transmissions that would turn into original episodes. They will be coming soon as well. When, I don't know. I know Kickstarter did a pre-release of the DVDs. I did not order them, unfortunately, despite the hoo-ha that went on at the time. We're not going to talk about that. There we go. That was my final word on this video. I told you guys I was going to babble on, did I not? This is why we will be releasing it when I'm at my dad's, because it will take a damn sight less time to load up than if I was at home. Again, thank you to anyone that has been here from the beginning, or that's just joined, or that came in whenever you did. You are the reason I am doing this. You are the reason that I have decided to do this, as opposed to actually going out. I was supposed to go out about an hour ago. Yeah, I sat here and did this with you guys instead. And I definitely feel I've done a better job this time than the first one. I deleted the first one, so don't ask to see the first one. It's gone. It's deleted. It's erased from the memory card. And we didn't run out of memory. I'm absolutely shocked. Do like, comment, share and subscribe if you wish. You can even thumbs down. You can dislike. Don't get me in on the channel. I always want to know what you guys think and have to say. When anybody does know more information about Series 2, if you hear it before me, pop a comment down or hit me up on Twitter, which will also be down here. I do have Twitter and Instagram for S8B, they're down here, so follow whichever one you want. I don't mind. Again, thank you everyone for being here and watching this extraordinarily long video. I've now got to go and edit it down. Yay. See you later, everyone. Bye.